So I remember after 9/11, the first Sunday, all NFL games were suspended. I remember watching on TV the Giants going down to ground zero and helping out. And I remember when they raised the flag at ground zero, there wasn't a dry eye in the crowd. Everyone stood and showed respect for our country, showed respect for the men and women fighting to protect us from this evil, showed respect for the police officers and the firemen that were sacrificing their lives. Many of them are dying today from the cancer, from all those fumes they breathed in. On that day, there was no Democrats, no Republicans, no black, no white, no Hispanic Americans. We're all just Americans, united together in love. And we were united not because we have a perfect country, but because we have a great country, because we have the best country, and we love our country, and we love the men and women that fight for this country. And I remember the following week they actually had a game. The Giants went and played in Kansas City, and all the players said, man, they're under such pressure to win. All the firefighters and police are saying, you got to win this game. So a lot of pressure, and they won. But I remember when they ran out on the field, every one of them was waving an American flag. And I remember when that American flag rose and the national anthem was played, there wasn't a dry eye in any of the football players' eyes. And I remember Michael Strahan, he was very emotional as well. And I want to say to Michael Strahan, what would you have done that day if one of your teammates took a knee in disrespect to our flag? You would be pissed. That's the feeling that most of us veterans have when we see, most Americans have when we see these players taking a knee. We still have that feeling. We still have that feeling you had on 9/11. That wasn't just on 9/11. That feeling of unity lasted in our country for years. I remember that like it was yesterday. Wasn't it just some political games people were playing to divide us, that convincing people that they need to hate America, that America was never great, that our country sucks. It wasn't until all that political crap came into the scene where we had division. We were very united. No matter what our political beliefs were, no matter what our spiritual beliefs were, we were united behind that flag. So it was very disappointing to me when I seen Michael Strahan recently on the Ellen show, saying that he would probably kneel. Like, what? Michael Strahan? Come on. And then on top of that, he calls Colin Kaepernick's actions courageous and heroic. With all due respect, Michael, that's not heroic. That's not courageous. It isn't. He's a confused young man. I'm telling you. Want to know what heroic was when Pat Tillman turned down a $9 million NFL contract to become an Army Ranger and die for his country right after 9/11. What's heroic is Michael, let me get his name right, Michael Mansour, Navy SEAL in Iraq, jumped on a hand grenade to save his teammates. That's heroic. He gave his life. He gave up everything. He gave his wife lost a husband. His children lost a father. His mother and dad lost a son. That's heroic. That's why we stand for the flag, man. It's as simple as that. You know, we're all against police brutality, but this is causing so much division. We're not going to get nothing done on this. Before all this crap started happening, you had Democrat Cory Booker, African-American senator from New Jersey, and Rand Paul, a white, very conservative, libertarian Republican, working together for prison reform, you know, and also included in that was police brutality reforms, okay, to make things better for our community. And President Trump said he's willing to sign it. In fact, President Trump just pardoned an African-American woman that Obama refused to pardon because he said it was unfair. Why did she get 20 years in jail for her boyfriend selling drugs? I mean, she spent 20 years in jail. She got life in jail. So both sides are willing to work with each other, but we need to be united again. We need to get that sense of unity again. And the simplest way we could do this is by people like you speaking up against kneeling. That is the most divisive thing that anyone could do, is kneel in front of the American flag. And you say, well, it's no diss to the military. My dad was in the military. It is a diss to the military. It's always stood for the military. It has always. That would be like one of these teammates on these teams coming out with a KKK uniform on. And everybody's like, what the heck are you doing? You're like, oh no, this uniform represents love and peace and unity. You're like, no, it doesn't. Everybody knows that uniform represents hate and evil. And so in a reverse fashion, when you say that flag represents oppression and that flag represents police brutality, we're like, no, it doesn't. It represents us being united. It represents all the sacrifice that these men and women gave us. It represents the men and women who died during the Civil War to pull down the Confederate flag. And I was all for pulling down the Confederate flag from government buildings. I'll put a link to my video from my other YouTube channel, Rob the Blue Collar Guy, Racism in America. Click on it. But this flag represents unity. This flag is the flag that defeated slavery. This flag is the flag that defeated Nazism, that defeated communism. We need to unite around this flag, and I'm asking Michael Strahan and every player in the NFL to be united around this flag. We can have civil discussions about what's best for the inner city. And I grew up in the inner city. I lived in the 4th floor building, an apartment building. On a clear day, I could look out and see the Twin Towers, clear as day. You know, that's how I grew up. I was a Giants fan my whole life. Me and my dad would watch the Giants every Sunday. He wasn't a political guy, but I think he would be sick to his stomach if he was alive and seen people kneeling. So I'm asking you to come together. Let's get that feeling of unity again. The best thing you could do for your cause. And like I said, I grew up in the inner city, and I've been beat up by cops too. You know, it's not a black and white thing. It's an inner city thing. There's a problem there. And, you know, I have a cousin, blonde hair and blue eyes. A cop knocked out all his front teeth with a baton. He was white, the cop was white. It's just the way it happens. One thing I did learn, though, growing up in the inner city, is you get 2 different responses if you respond to a cop as yes, sir, and F you. So if I said yes, sir, I usually didn't get beat up. But if I said F you, I was looking to get a beating. But that's a different story. So the bottom line is, what I'm trying to say is remember 9/11. Remember that unity we had, that spirit of love for each other. I remember my car was stalling out and like 10 guys coming out and pushed me. Black, white, and Hispanic. I'm not even exaggerating. They pushed me to the side of the road and they said, brother, we're all in this together. And man, I got tears in my eyes. And that's what it's about. That's what it's about. When we stand for this flag, we're standing for unity. And we'll stand with you with your fight against police brutality, but stand for the men that are overseas, that we can even have this discussion. So, God bless America, and remember what I'm saying.